Apologetics, from the Greek word apologia, a defense. 1 Peter 3:15. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. Gentleness, respect. For 2,000 years, that's what apologetics meant. Defending your faith with reason, love, and dignity, answering honest questions, building bridges to truth, loving your neighbor enough to engage with them thoughtfully. But something happened. Somewhere along the way, apologetics became something else entirely. It became mockery for clicks, rage for revenue, humiliation for views. And the worst part? It's working. Let me show you what I mean. Classical apologetics, think C.S. Lewis, think N.T. Wright, ask questions like, is there evidence for the resurrection? How do we know the Bible is reliable? Does God's existence make philosophical sense? They engaged brilliant atheist thinkers. They wrestled with hard questions. They treated objections seriously. But modern apologetics? Here's what's dominating the space now. Can Muslims explain the weirdest story about Muhammad ever? 1.5 million views, 10 minutes of booty bandit jokes and rump rocket slang, not one scripture reference, not one gospel presentation, not one moment of actual defense of Christianity. Just mockery, just humiliation, just outrage bait designed to trigger the algorithm and rake in Patreon dollars. This isn't apologetics. This is entertainment disguised as evangelism. Let's break down exactly how this works. I'm using David Wood's video because it's a perfect case study, but he's not unique. This is the playbook dozens of channels follow. Step 1. Sensationalize. Take an obscure hadith, find the weirdest possible interpretation, ignore scholarly context, build a thumbnail that screams scandal. Step 2. Mock relentlessly. 10 straight minutes of ditty line references, innuendo, and juvenile humor. Deliver it with smirking condescendence, and then make sure your audience feels superior. Step 3. Never pivot to gospel. At no point, 0 times, does the video say, and here's why Jesus offers freedom from confusion. Here's the hope of the cross. Here's how grace transforms. Step 4. Monetize the outrage. The comment sections become a cesspool. Muhammad took the whole team gets 12,000 likes. Queers for Palestine makes sense. A pinned comment. The creator himself pins links to multiple donation platforms. And here's the kicker. His channel analytics? 9 videos mocking Islam for every 1 defending Christianity. 9 to 1. That's not apologetics. That's a business model. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for channels like this because they teach these verses. They weaponize them against everyone else, but somehow they never apply them to themselves. Matthew 6:1-5. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues at the street corners, for that they may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. You parade a weird Muhammad story to 1.5 million views. You collect Patreon cash for the performance. Jesus says your reward is already paid. The views are your crown. Galatians 1:10. Am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. These booty bandit jokes? They're playing to the 18,000 people who like the slur. That's applause from the crowd, not approval from the cross. John 12:43, and this is the verse Wood himself quotes in other videos. They love the glory that comes from the man more than the glory that comes from God. Brother, you need to check your own heart. 1.5 million views on Hadith Mockery, 20,000 views on resurrection evidence. The algorithm told you what gets the glory from man, and you chose it. Do you want to see real apologetics? Let's actually look at Acts 17, not like the branding that David Wood is standing behind. Paul walks into Athens, the intellectual capital of the world, surrounded by idol worship. Could have spent an hour roasting their weird Zeus stories, could have made jokes about Dionysus orgies or Apollo's love affairs. Instead, he quotes their poets, he engages their philosophy, he finds common ground. As even some of your own poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. He builds a bridge from their partial understanding to the full truth. Some mock him, some want to hear more. A few believe. That's the result. Some mockery, some curiosity, some conversation. Paul's approach quoted pagan poets respectively, found common ground, preached cross with tears, and some believed. Modern attack content mocks sacred texts with slang, emphasizes division, cracks jokes for donations. The comment mob circle jerk becomes a mess. Paul's mission: win some, make disciples, point to Jesus. Wood's result: win views, make enemies, point to Patreon. One planted churches, the other plants bitterness. Now let me take this a bit deeper. Here's something I've noticed studying these traditions. Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, and even Buddha, they all describe accessing something beyond themselves, a source, a divine truth, a reconnection to what we've lost. They spoke in different languages, different contexts, different times. Their followers built different institutions, different rituals, different labels. But here's what's fascinating. The mystics in every tradition, Jewish Kabbalists, Christian contemplatives, Sufi Muslims, they all describe the same experience: unity consciousness, dissolution of ego, direct knowing. They have more in common with each other than the fundamentalists in their own traditions. So when I see a Christian channel spending 90% of its energy mocking Islam, I see someone who's forgotten Jesus' actual teachings. Love your enemy. Pray for those who persecute you. By this shall all men know you are my disciples, that you love one another. Not, by this shall they know you, that you ratio them in the comment sections. Brothers, sisters, we are Abraham's children, all of us. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, 3 branches of one root. And that root goes back further still, to the original humans who first connected to something divine. When you mock Muhammad for clicks, you're not defending Jesus. You're reinforcing the very division Jesus came to heal. So what's the alternative? What does real apologetics look like today? For content creators, stop chasing rage metrics. Yes, outrage gets views. Yes, mockery goes viral. Yes, attack content pays the bills. But Matthew 16:26 says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul?" You can have 1,000,000 subscribers or you can have a clean conscience. You have to choose. For viewers, stop feeding the machine. Unsubscribe from these channels that build hate. Stop sharing mockery content. Stop letting algorithm-driven outrage shape your theology. Find teachers who build bridges instead of walls. Defend truth with love instead of contempt. Point to Jesus instead of Patreon. Actually present the gospel instead of just attacking alternatives. For the seekers, don't let attack content define your view of any tradition. These channels don't represent the best of Christianity any more than ISIS represents the best of Islam. The mystics knew there's a frequency beneath all the noise, a source beyond all the labels, truth that transcends tribalism. Jesus found it, so did Moses, so did Muhammad, so did the Buddha. They all taught reconnection. They all challenged the religious institutions of their day. They all pointed beyond labels to direct experience of the divine. Don't let modern apologetics become just another institution that profits from keeping us divided. 1 Peter 3:15 said, "With gentleness and respect." That's the standard. Anything less is mockery wearing a cross. So here's the choice. Do we want to win arguments or win souls? Do we want views or revival? Do we want to be right or to be righteous? Because we can't have both. True apologetics builds bridges to truth. False apologetics builds walls of mockery. One leads to conversion, the other leads to controversy. One honors Christ, the other monetizes contempt. Choose carefully. The watching world can tell the difference. And if this challenged you, subscribe. We're going deeper into what the prophets actually taught and how religion betrayed their message.